good friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket. Georgia and Alex.
Hello and welcome back to Culture Bucket, the world's greatest, the universe's greatest podcast. You're listening to episode 71. Welcome to the podcast, pal, where we are going to be discussing our favourite Bruce Willis performances. And as always, I am your host, George. And as always, I cannot do it on my own. So with me is my co-host, Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you today, Alex?
I am fantastic. Great. Good. Never better.
That's good to hear. And not as always, as only happened once before, this topic is so enormous that we cannot do it on our own, so we are joined by extra special guests from the Film versus Film podcast, Martin and Boaz. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, you alright?
Fantastic.
Help alleviate the burden for you.
It's a heavy filmography to lift on our shoulders alone, so we do need
yeah, you need us or John McClane.
Yeah, you need an extra bold man to cope with Bruce Willis chat. So
exactly. So yeah, I recently joined you guys on your podcast to discuss Nicolas Cage movies, which was exciting and wonderful. To talk a little bit about that iconic 90s action hero, and so we thought we'd cover another one on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it, you know. I was with bated breath until you said exciting. I was like, I was going to say terrible. That's going to break my heart.
It was an absolute slog, but never mind.
Yeah, that misery porn.
Yeah.
Leaving Las Vegas. Cheers, Boaz. Well done. No, good film, that one.
Yeah. Don't know if Bruce Willis ever did a movie quite as upsetting as Leaving Las Vegas. Can't think of one off the top of my head. But he has...
Well, apart from the last 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, well, he has made about...
Unintentionally horrendous, yeah.
Yeah, never mind. So, before we move on, just for our listeners' sakes, what is the Film versus Film podcast?
Well, the Film versus Film podcast is a podcast where either me and Boaz either team up and we play against some guests, or sometimes it's just me versus Boaz, where we pick a subject.
Batter each other with films.
Yeah. We take some celluloid, light it, and lob it at each other to see who wins. No,
it's to the death.
You sound so fucking weird. Anyway, we take.
I usually do, don't I? Sorry, man. Carry on.
Yeah. We have a look at the cinema releases and we base our subject on a cinema release. So, for example, when you came on, it was the Massive Talent movie from Nicolas Cage. So we did Nicolas Cage films, and each team will pick their film and we discuss it in terms of directing, screenplay, and acting. We give it a score out of 10, and usually with decimals because they're cool. And add them all up and see who wins, and it's just a lot of fun. And you get some surprises sometimes of who wins. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Cool.
Nice. If someone listening to us now wanted to go and check out your podcast, could you each tell one episode that you think is the quintessential Film versus Film episode, if you see what I mean?
Gosh.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I think I always come back to the Tom Hardy one where we did, was it Legend versus Bronson? That was
that was a good one. Yeah.
Just me and Boaz. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
A lot of swearing, but if you don't mind swearing, then it's, a lot of East London accents and impressions.
Yeah, a lot of four-letter words and bad East London accents.
Fair enough. Is Legend the one where he plays the Cray twins? Is that?
that's
Yeah.
I haven't seen that film. What one? Or should we keep it a surprise for the listeners? They want to go and check it out.
keep it a surprise.
Yeah, I've even forgotten. I forget like the conclusion of all of them.
Any episode that sticks in your mind, Boaz?
So mainly because of how. So I think there are two, and they're not as funny, but to me they were just very deeply interesting. So one was our war episode, one based on war films.
Oh, God.
And I picked the Belarusian film Come and See, and he picked. What did you pick? All Quiet on the Western Front? No, that was it.
Paths of Glory.
That was it. Paths of Glory. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name, but that was an amazing film, and it was a pretty good discussion of like warfare and stuff. And I'm really into like war history, so I just found that, and they were great movies. And then another one, which is also not that funny, but I really liked, mainly because I really love Daniel Day-Lewis, when we did There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread. And man, that was great. And that was really long. We talked for quite a while.
Yes, you did, Boaz. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah, my throat was raw.
That was a mistake on my end. Sorry, apologise for that.
I haven't seen Phantom Thread, but my dad did drive through the set of it while they were filming it, so I've got a
Oh, really?
That's like
Whoa!
They asked him not to.
Him.
What, they asked him not to and then he just did it?
We were staying in this little village in Yorkshire where they were filming it at the top of this hill, and they closed off the road while they were doing scenes, and then opened the road up again between shots. And they tried to make my dad, and our car was filled with all of our holiday gear because we were leaving, and they tried to make him stop at the top of this hill. And he just, he's a very sort of, he doesn't take much nonsense. He just went, I'm not doing a hill start here, mate. And he just drove straight through the set in the middle of filming it. Never mind.
Just run over the camera crew. Carry on going.
I think they were filming a scene inside a hotel, so it's just maybe in the background. If you look closely, you might see a Ford drive-through.
All right,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
should have done like peace signs out of the window or something. Just make himself very conspicuous.
I hope he didn't get distracted by any sexual breakfast orders.
No,
that was a cool scene. Yeah. If you want to learn how to pick up women, watch that scene. It's really good. You want to pick up waitresses, especially waitresses.
Yeah,
watch that scene.
I didn't know that was what Phantom Thread was about, but now I'm definitely gonna watch it. Good. And Come and See. I really want to watch Come and See because it's recently gone right up to the top of the list of best films on Letterboxd.
Really?
Yeah. But it's quite tough to find in the UK at the moment, it seems. So,
and really tough to watch as well.
Oh God,
I do not want to watch that film again.
No, that's what I've been reading about it.
I the first time I ever heard about it, it was a guy that reviewed it, and he said, "Come and See is like a horror movie for war movies." He says it's less like a history film and more like a horror film. And you watch it, and you're like, you completely understand. You're like. Wow. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've seen it described as the ultimate anti-war movie. So interesting. Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you for that. Let's move on. Let's start Culture Catch-Up.
This is Culture Catch-Up time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch-Up time.
Last week I went first, so Alex, what have you been doing in the past week?
What I've been doing, I'm just going to talk about a couple of films that I watched this week.
Nice.
I'm a massive anime fan.
Oh,
Martin
sweet.
and Boaz. I love anime. And I watched the new Mamoru Hosoda anime, Belle. Have you heard of it?
Oh.
Belle.
No.
Belle.
I have not.
No? So Mamoru Hosoda, if you don't know, has made films like Summer Wars, The Boy and the Beast, the Digimon movie.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Finally got to one that I know of.
That's the one people like. I know the Digimon movie, and
Digimon, digital monsters.
Jesus,
Exactly.
Christ.
No, it's fine. Carry on singing. It makes it calms me down a little bit. And then Mirai, Wolf Children. And this film came out last year in 2021, and it's called Belle. And do you know another cartoon that's got a character named Belle?
I do.
Beauty and the Beast?
Yes.
Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, he's not an adaptation, but he kind of maybe inspired by Beauty and the Beast. There are a lot of like scenes that are kind of, but actually there's only one scene that's like Beauty and the Beast, but apparently it's inspired in a castle. But it's about this girl called, now is when my memory goes bleh.
She's not called Belle.
Is she called Belle? You know?
No, she's not called
that's
Belle.
what I was thinking.
Guys, shh. She's not called Belle. She's called Suzu, and she's a really shy girl who lives in the countryside in Japan, and her mum unexpectedly dies, and to find some kind of to escape reality, she goes into this app called You, which kind of reminds me a lot of TikTok, and you can make an avatar, and her avatar is called Belle. Suzu really likes singing, but because after her mother's death stopped singing, but in this app called You, she starts singing again as Belle, and she kind of creates a new reality for herself. Other stuff happens. There's a dragon. There's lots of stuff happening. That doesn't matter because it's just beautiful to watch. Like
Nice.
the story is it's okay. It's not like the most. It's quite dark in some points, and it's but it's just beautiful. Like the graphics are incredible, and it's just amazing to watch, and the music in it is really, really good. So I would definitely recommend watching it because it's amazing. It's a really beautiful film. And then I finally managed to watch John Wick 2
Oh wow!
Oh,
chapter
Nice.
2. Oh my god.
I think we did that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have done that.
Like
R-rated action films.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Well, I had to watch. We did a Keanu Reeves episode a few months ago, and that George told me to watch John Wick Chapter 1, which I absolutely loved. But John Wick Chapter 2 is incredible. Like
Yeah, it's insane.
it's insane. And there's a thing that I really enjoy in films. Like if you're Italian, you speak Italian, and you're Italian.
yeah.
There's one thing that I like. I'm very bad with people doing accents. And this one
I hate
ticked all my
accidents as well.
boxes. Like
You
there
love
is
accents, but
accents.
I get into a lot of accidents with accents. Yeah.
Accents, yeah. But yeah, this really there was Franco Nero, Claudia Gerini, and
Who was the bad guy?
his
'Cause,
name is Riccardo Scamarcio.
Jesus Christ, that's a manly name.
Yeah, and he's manly. He's part of the
Ricardo
Camorra.
That is amazing.
he was great though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
you
guy.
really wanted to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
He's such a slimy bastard.
And there's Common with his face that is like
Yeah.
it's just like this frozen face that you're like, okay, why are you here? But I guess it kind of matches Keanu's energy, maybe. I don't know. They kind
Yeah, I
of match
suppose,
Yeah, definitely.
each
Yeah.
other.
Because
But yeah.
he's basically like the anti John Wick. He's like his, Are we talking about the same character? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Common.
Common
The guy.
He's definitely he's like equally matched in terms of skill, I guess.
Yeah.
but, on
Yeah.
the
But
opposing
also-
side.
Energy,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think Common is an actor that is the same. I think he used to be a rapper, and now he's an actor that is exactly
Yeah.
the same in everything you see him, and he's quite popular. Like you see him often, and he just got this like blind, and I don't know. But what happens in John Wick Chapter 2? There's a blood debt that Santino D'Antonio has with John Wick, and John Wick. John? Am I saying the right thing?
Yes.
Yeah, John Wick. Sorry, I was all Italian and I was like, John Wick. John Wick cannot escape, and so he has to start working again, and that's it. The dog is still alive though, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
Yes. Or should I say that?
Well,
Is that a spoiler?
I think the spoiler sort of period has passed for John Wick Chapter 2. So I think
Has
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Has
Yeah,
it?
you've
I
got
love
to be
all, like,
living
the-
under a rock
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
I do, but I live under a rock because I was like, I'm not watching John Wick, and then George forced me, and now I love it.
So you're
I
going to
can't
watch Chapter
Yeah.
3?
Of course.
Yeah, they add horse foo, book foo,
Oh my god, yeah, it gets pretty ridiculous in John Wick 3. You're like, I think there's barely a story. It's so much fighting. You're like, they're killing each other on this now, and on this, they're killing each other with these now. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Knives, books.
The pencil comes back in John Wick 2.
Yeah, pencil foo.
Yeah.
But and then in 2023, next year, it's going to be John Wick 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How exciting.
They need to give this character, like, no spoilers and stuff, but, like, I think this is just... Every single one, it like carries on straight from the other one. You're like, this carries on from this. They cannot do that with the fourth one. Like, if you guys have watched the third one, you know why I mean that. You know, they can't do that with the fourth one. He cannot. He needs a couple months to like breathe. You know, like if they just do that,
he's John Wick, man.
It suspends my disbelief. You go through 3 movies to so much action, and you're like, okay, that I can kind of get. You cannot do a fourth, especially not the state he was in.
It's quite fun to imagine they all take place over the course of about 6 weeks.
Yeah. I think they probably did. Like, somebody was like, they basically just go one after the other, and you're like, yeah, it must just be a couple of weeks. He's just going full out.
Yeah.
He's John Wick, man. He can withstand anything.
Yeah.
What I think would be hilarious if they just continue the fourth one from where he is, but he has to do it. It's got to be more realistic, and he's got to be in a wheelchair. You know,
wheelchair foo. There you go.
Wheelchair foo. They got to do that. He's got to be the next John Wick. He's just in a wheelchair. You know.
Do you know who's in the fourth one? Donnie Yen.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's gonna be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, Ip Man.
So
Ip Man himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's next year.
Yeah. There was a point in time when it was meant to come out on the same day as The Matrix 4, which obviously that didn't happen in the end. I wish that.
Yeah, I think because they were filming it at the same time, but just different,
something like that. Yeah.
You know, all this other stuff. You know,
I wish it had been The Matrix that had been delayed and John Wick that had come out last Christmas, but never mind.
Was it that bad?
I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I've heard some really crazy things from that film.
It's just a stupid movie.
But the thing is, it's bizarre. Like, John Wick is so silly that it's really enjoyable to watch because you just don't, you know. Is the Matrix not the same? Is it not silly enough?
No, it's too like
it's too serious now.
It's too serious. There's not enough action in it. There's a lot of like sitting around in a coffee shop, and it tries to be very clever, and it doesn't work for me at all. I don't know. Didn't like it. Sorry. And I like the
Lawrence Fishburne is in this one as well.
Yeah. He's coming back for the fourth.
Oh yeah, and exactly, and he didn't return for the Matrix.
No,
I didn't. Was he not in the Matrix?
Nope.
Nope.
But Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, one of our favourite actors, is in it, playing Morpheus. But as good as he is, he's not Lawrence Fishburne. So
no,
and he's not Samuel Jackson either. He's not in it either.
Yeah. Don't say that to Sam. Lose his mind.
And that's it. Short because we're in a lot today. So yeah, Belle and John Wick 2. 2
good films, or at least one good film and one that I assume is good, but I haven't seen. But
they're both amazing. Watch Belle; it's so good.
Cool. How about you, Martin? What have you been up to recently?
Well, I've been catching up on Peaky Blinders, which was pretty cool. Just got the last one to watch. I was kind of put off watching it because it was like 90 minutes long when I was going to start it at like 11 o'clock. I'm like, oh God, I can't go to bed. I can't watch it now. But I'm really loving it. I do like Stephen Knight stuff. Just beautiful cinematography, and it's got a real dark feel to it, this last series. I don't know if you guys watch Peaky Blinders, but
I've watched the first episode about 6 times and never managed to carry on. But I know that one day I will. I just have never been in the right mood for it because it is very bleak.
It is very bleak, very dark. It gets darker from there pretty much. But this series is like proper dark. It's very much a mood piece, a character piece where Tommy Shelby is basically on his last legs. His empire is he's trying to keep hold of it. It's kind of this very classic gangster story.
Very Martin Scorsese.
It's set. Yeah, we're into like the mid 1930s now.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean timing or setting. Just the fact that Martin likes
gangsters,
to do, well, gangsters and like usually they're foals as well.
Yeah, so he's kind of getting mixed in with Oswald Mosley and the IRA, and they're trying to plan like this new world order. And cool. Shelby is trying to like undermine them from the inside and things after a failed assassination attempt on Oswald. Yes, it's just, and like Oswald's wife is amazing in it as well, as this just horrible Nazi. It's really interesting. Also, I've been watching Derry Girls from Northern Ireland. I do like that.
I love that.
On Channel 4 it started again. So you do. Oh,
It sounded more like West Country.
I am from the West Country.
It's a new character that was introduced.
Yeah, it's so funny though.
Yeah.
Just these 4 girls and a boy just getting up to absolute nonsense, and it is proper laugh out loud funny, and it's kind of got a really like brilliant heart to it as well, because it's set during the Troubles in the early 1990s, so it does have a, you know, it packs a punch sometimes, especially in that last episode in season 2. But yeah, really, you know, short episodes, you can get through it in like an evening, well, one season at least. But yeah, it's back on now, season 3, loving it. And of course, Moon Knight with Stephen Lang. No, Stephen Grant, that's the one. Yeah.
Stephen Grant. Yeah.
Very sad. Oh,
yeah. And Mark Spector.
What do you think about his accent? George hates it, but I think it's okay.
I think it's all right. It's really great to do. So, you know, I think that's the main thing why I like it. It's just
I don't hate it. I just think it's a bad. It's not a realistic accent. Nobody speaks like that in the real world.
You haven't met everybody in the real world.
I've met enough people.
Well, that's the thing, I think, because if you've got to episode 5, you kind of realise why it's...
Have you watched episode 5?
Like it?
No, I've watched episode 4, where he meets something that is...
Talweret, the goddess Talweret.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't watched episode 5 yet.
If you like hippos, you'll love this show.
Episode 5's got plenty of that for you.
Is it good?
Hippo.
I thought it was all right. I kind of want to see what happens next, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
Episode 5 felt like they stopped to do the origin story a little bit, and I want to see what's next. But I'm excited for Wednesday.
Yeah, because I was really confused after episode 3. I was like, what is happening? I have no idea. And then episode 4 was like, okay, I understand. And then, but I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to do in episode 6. I'm just like, how are they going to end this? There's so much stuff going on.
It's the thing, because I thought this episode, like, I did like it, and I think it's a good origin story. But I think, as you were saying, it's like, I want to see where the story's going to unfold. And they would have had 2 episodes, 5 and 6. And I thought they were immediately going to get into it. But I did like the episode. I thought it was a great exploration of his psyche. But now you've got, how are they going to wrap up everything in one episode? You're like, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, he's kind of left in limbo that's gone on. How the hell is he going to sort all this out?
Yeah, it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fascinating show because, like, for me, the least interesting part is like Moon Knight himself.
Yeah,
like you hardly even see the guy in, you know, the suit in the. You know, I wouldn't mind if we don't actually. We probably will see him in the last episode, but I mean, I wouldn't be too bothered if we don't actually see him because those 2 personalities and what's going on with the story is just very intriguing and just like, you know,
And
in
the comics, he has 3 personalities. So where's the third
yes, he does. Yeah. Exactly.
Where's Jake
it's
Lockley?
Constantly teased. Yeah. It is constantly teased. But yeah, you still haven't seen it yet. I was hoping that we would see it on this on the 5th episode.
I think that was
like,
the only...
where's Jake?
Yeah,
where's Jake?
That was partly why I was a bit downbeat on the 5th episode, because I really thought that would be the one where they gave us Jake Lockley. But I guess hopefully next week we'll see.
Is next week the last episode, or there are 7?
Yeah, there's only
6.
Okay.
So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Anything else, Martin?
That's it at the moment.
Buzz, how about you?
Yeah. So Moon Knight, just like he said. But beyond that, I'm trying to think what else I've been watching.
Don't say Buffy.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Please, feel free to say Buffy. It's fine. Which season? Which episode?
George is
He
obsessed.
says it every week.
I finally finished the show, so I got the last episode. Then I've started on Angel now, so I'm watching through that.
Oh, right.
Nice.
I watched World War Z yesterday.
Oh,
that was on TV. Oh, and I was trying to catch up with things I haven't seen, especially MCU stuff. So I still hadn't watched The Eternals, so I watched that.
ooh, what do you think of that?
What do you
few days
think?
ago. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would say, like, I don't get like people being major critical of it. I will have one big criticism, which is I thought the story was great, and I thought it's really epic, and I just like the idea. And I like how it's shot. It looks nice. But for me, it just felt a sort of disconnect that it didn't feel epic. Do you know what I mean? It didn't feel, well, at least for me, it didn't feel as grand as, as what the plot was. You know what I mean? So that was my kind of criticism. I was like, yeah, it's a really interesting story. It's a really epic setup. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel as kind of grand as it's, as it's meant to be.
You wanted two giant spaceships to erupt from underneath the earth instead of just one.
Yeah, probably. Probably, yeah. But yeah, I just, for some reason it just didn't hit me like that. But I think the parts where they're talking and chilling, and a lot of the cinematography is quite nice. But
it's
for me, it just,
isn't it? So.
but for me, it just didn't feel. I don't know. It just didn't feel like actiony, if that makes sense. I'm not sort of entirely sure
the
how
action.
to express it, but it didn't feel. It didn't feel
maybe
epic enough to me. Really, I'm not sure what that is. Really,
a villain that felt like it had more of a personality might have helped in that department. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Sort of,
who was the villain?
A big sort of evil dog thing, basically.
Yeah, Crow was like what was it? It was Crow and Icarus, basically.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
I forgot about
sorry.
Icarus.
Yeah. But yeah, Crow was very bland.
Yeah, definitely.
But I did love the twist, if we're talking spoilers, the fact that Icarus ended up being the bad guy. I quite like that reveal. Marvel have never really done that before, like assuming, because you immediately assume they're all heroes, they're all good people.
Yeah.
But with Icarus turning on them all was really interesting for the prime directive or whatever of the Sentinels plan. That was a bold move, I thought. So I really enjoyed the film. I didn't really understand this massive like critical reception that it got from a lot of reviewers. I felt like they were kind of waiting for Marvel to just slip up. They're like, oh, Chloe Zhao's a big director. Can she handle it? Let's just heap lots of crap on Eternals. I don't know. It felt a bit cynical to me.
I loved it. I really, really, really like Eternals. Big fan of it. And I like that twist mainly because it meant I realised that I wouldn't have to watch another movie with Richard Madden in the MCU. So that made me very happy. If he becomes the new James Bond, I'm going to quit being a fan of James Bond.
What's wrong with Richard Madden?
He's just bland. He's just nothing. He's just like there's nothing to that man. I don't know. I'd much rather have a Kit Harington than a Richard Madden any day of the week. That's my stance.
Because they're teasing him as Black Knight or something. Is that right, Boaz?
Yeah.
With the something sword.
With
Ebony Blade.
Yeah, Ebony Blade, there you go.
Blade involved in some way, right?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Blade is somehow involved with him, yeah.
We'll find out how in 4 years, probably. Anything else, Baz, that you've been on?
Oh, man, I'm trying to think. The Planet of the Apes movies. So I finally watched War of the Planet of the Apes, because I watched the previous two and just didn't get around to the third part. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it's just crazy how sort of realistic all the fucking apes look now.
Yeah.
It's really quite. Yeah, it's quite weird. It's strange, but man, they look good. And I really liked the film. I thought it was good. It was pretty long, but beyond that, it was really good.
Yeah. Well, Matt Reeves loves his biblical films, doesn't he? There's a lot of biblical imagery, just like in the Batman as well. So, which is interesting.
I also thought it was really great because I love his rivalry with Woody Harrelson's character, and I thought, I like Woody Harrelson in that as well. You know, being
he's always great.
He's amazing in everything.
Yeah.
Colonel, yeah.
Is he very much doing a Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now in that film, Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, kind of like he's lost his goddamn mind. And,
it's good. It's good. Something else that we know about Matt Reeves from War for the Planet of the Apes and the Batman is that he likes his films to be 7 days long.
Yeah.
No, because I did find that sort of interesting. Like most of the sort of big spectacle action is like at the beginning, but it is a story of like revenge and redemption and family and stuff. But it just seems a lot bleaker. It's like, you know, these chimps are being like tortured in this like concentration camp like thing, and it's kind of not what I was sort of expecting. Yeah. But it is pretty dark, and it's I'm
a fan of that one. I think Matt Reeves is going to go on to be considered sort of one of the great kind of Hollywood directors. I think when all is said and done, he really doesn't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the Planet of the Apes prequels don't get really enough credit. Like when I first heard of Rise, I was like, man, this is going to suck. And you know, and you know, I'm at that point, like, you know, I didn't care for Planet of the Apes, and you know, you'd had that previous reboot with Tim Burton, and like, you know, I wasn't particularly like, oh, this is going to be good or whatever. But you know, making the apes the good guys like Caesar, and making it just really like a technical achievement, and you know, I think it's really good. Doesn't get enough credit.
Definitely true. Cool. All right. Thank you. Well, I've got a couple of things to add before we move on to our top 5. I went to the cinema against my better judgment to see Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Where there were no secrets.
No, the secrets. We're already well aware of all of the secrets the movie has to tell us. It's the third film in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is also potentially going to be the last film in the Fantastic Beasts franchise based on how it's been performing. Yeah, for the better.
The first one was okay, wasn't it?
So the first one was okay. Yeah, I thought
as a standalone film.
Yeah, it was fine.
And then so the first one I thought was okay, but it was like a fun caper in 1920s New York, looking at what American Wizarding World's like. Fine. Second film was when they were like, right, I know it's called Fantastic Beasts, but it's not about Fantastic Beasts anymore. Now it's about Grindelwald and Dumbledore and their big Barney. And then the third one, they've gotten rid of Johnny Depp because of everything else that's happened. They've replaced him with Mads Mikkelsen, which is fine, great, love Mads Mikkelsen, but they don't explain why in any way. He just suddenly, the Grindelwald now looks like a kind of a normal guy, whereas in the last movie he looked like a sort of cartoon character. And then
I don't know why I found that so funny.
Yeah, it's all right. And then the plot is that I won't go too far into spoilers, but I mean, the basic premise of The Secrets of Dumbledore is twofold. Number one, there is a sort of a spiritual, magical blood oath thing between Grindelwald and Dumbledore that says that they're not allowed to go up against each other. If either of them fights the other one, then this chain that Dumbledore has around his arm will like squeeze him to death and kill him. So he can't directly go against Grindelwald. Okay, so he gets.
Is that why he got Ezra Miller?
Ezra Miller.
So you know he could beat Dumbledore with a chair or something.
I guess that's the idea. Because as we learn at the end of the last film, Ezra Miller is a Dumbledore. Turns out Dumbledore's nephew. Yeah, I guess. But then there's the Dumbledore and Ezra Miller have a fight in this movie that doesn't exist in any. Like, they're both walking down a street. What city are they in? What country in the world are they in? I couldn't tell you. And they both happen to be there at the same time. They have a big fight. It transpires
in a puddle,
inside a puddle, and then the movie just moves on from that. And basically the conceit is that this gang of people that Dumbledore's gotten together, Newt Scamander leading them, Eddie Redmayne, they're all going to go up against Grindelwald, but because they can't make a specific plan because of the magic oath thing, they decide, well, we're just going to have to do random things that eventually maybe will result in Grindelwald being defeated, which is almost like the film saying, hey, look, nothing that happens in the next 2 hours is going to make sense, but that's fine. That's how we. That's what.
This reminds me of that Rick and Morty heist episode.
Exactly, it's exactly like that, but in a $250 million children's film.
Jesus,
it's literally like it doesn't matter that none of it makes sense. That's by design. I'm very intelligent. I'm a very intelligent screenwriter, and it's on purpose that all of this is nonsense.
Yeah. Did they hire Elon Tusk? Was it Tusk? Elon Tusk.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2 hours later, you get to a scene where Grindelwald is trying to become elected as king of all wizards, which I didn't realise was really a thing, but apparently that's a big thing. You can be king of all the wizards. And
I think it was a big thing in like the couple of seconds it took to write that sentence.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, yes, he wants to be king of the wizards.
How do they decide who the king of the wizards is? Do all of the wizards across the world vote and then they decide on the most popular one? No, of course not. They get a magical horse, and whoever the horse chooses, that's king of the wizards. Is that a system?
Is it like a deer?
Yeah, like a little magical deer.
It was cute though.
Sort of cute, but then who is that a system that is corruptible by an evil villain? Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. So obviously that all goes wrong. The movie
is the screenwriter younger than 10?
Well, I mean, it's J.K. Rowling, isn't it? So
Oh, is it?
yeah, she wrote the screenplay for the first two, and then for this one. It's very weird because when this movie finishes, it says based on a story by J.K. Rowling, screenplay by J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves. And Steve Kloves wrote all the original Harry Potter film screenplays. So she obviously wrote a screenplay for this movie, and Warner Brothers said...
And he's like, I got to do something about this. Warner Brothers got to patch it up somehow.
J.K., this doesn't make any sense. And she went, no, it does. It's on purpose because of the oath thing. It's not meant to make sense. And they said, no, it just doesn't make sense. So we're going to get Steve Kloves to come in and write it with you, and then hopefully it'll make sense, and it still doesn't. Awful movie. Hated it so much.
I want to see what her version of it was like. They released the J.K. Rowling cut.
Yeah, the Rowling cut.
Yeah, I saw it as well.
What did you think of it, Martin?
The other week? I was just bored.
Yeah, that's another problem.
I was really bored. I mean, there's a scene where they go to the Himalayas near the end, and like, how can you make the Himalayas, this really exotic location, boring? You know, it's just, it all looks the same. Like everywhere they go, it looks the same. Like the giant, what's it call it? The giant spider thing in the prison, that was fun. But apart from that, it was, and like way too much politics. This is supposed to be a kids movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and like the whole film is around like a political election, and it's just like,
do you want to know?
Making the episode, she's making the Phantom Menace mistakes there.
Yeah, exactly.
People want more.
Too many trade routes.
Shall I tell you how you make the Himalayas boring? You write your entire movie with the intention of having that entire sequence be set in Rio de Janeiro, and then you allow a global pandemic to completely scupper your production, and instead decide to set it in the empty mountains of the Himalayas, and you don't have any time
where you're further than 2 meters from everybody.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
200 miles,
which is why one of the people that is up for being elected is like a Brazilian witch, because she's meant to be says the whole meant to be happening in Brazil.
Oh god,
ridiculous, nonsense movie. Never mind.
Like, if you're gonna have problems like that, I think like studios shouldn't be afraid to delay it. Like, just get it right, you know. Don't just be so sticky with your release dates. In my opinion.
I think Universal are undergoing that problem at the moment, aren't they, with the director of Fast and Furious 10 resigning a week into production.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
they'll have to. Creative differences. There is a great video on Twitter of Vin Diesel and the director. Like Vin Diesel's filming it and saying like, "Oh, we're week into production, Justin Lin, director of this movie. How are you feeling?" And he just looks at the camera and goes, "I'm feeling great. This movie is going to be the best." And then literally a day later, he announced he'd quit the film.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
I think Vin Diesel is the only one that thinks the Fast films are like great art that really needs to be seen.
yeah. I mean, I do enjoy them, but they're not. They're silly. They're silly movies. But
yeah, I think he's the only one that's not like in on the joke. You know,
he genuinely thinks it's all about family. He really does.
Yeah. Family.
All about family and a nice cool Corona. So that was Fantastic Beasts. The other movie I watched this week was the 2021 musical Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, what?
George,
you just watched rubbish this week.
I've not seen this one.
So this is a movie.
I think he likes to suffer.
I do a little bit.
You're a masochist.
So this film is based on a stage play that I think started in 2015, which is a musical. It won loads of Tony Awards. About a socially awkward teenager in high school. He's like a senior. He's in his senior year, so what would he be, about 18? And he's got severe social anxiety, which is never fully like quantified what it is in the movie, which is fine. And he's been told by his therapist to write himself letters to kind of like as like an exercise in improving his social anxiety. So he writes these letters to himself that start with, "Dear Evan Hansen, today's going to be a great day. Here's why." Da 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 da. And at the start of the movie, he writes one of these letters. He accidentally prints it, and he goes to take it from the printer because he's in school. It's in like the school library, and this sort of bully boy who's already yelled at him once in the movie comes up to the printer and takes it, and sees that Evan Hansen has mentioned this bully's sister in the letter because he has a crush on his sister. And he gets all angry at it and he storms off with the letter. And also, just before this happens, Evan Hansen has a cast on his arm, and the bully signs the cast as like a sarcastic thing. And he's like, "We can both pretend we have friends." Then the bully very tragically takes his own life. And the mum and dad of the bully, the mum played by Amy Adams, discovers this letter and thinks that it was a letter that the bully wrote to Evan Hansen, so convince themselves that the bully and Evan Hansen were best friends. And so then Evan Hansen goes along with that and becomes the centre of this, let's all kind of memorialise this person who's died, who was such good friends with Evan Hansen. And then he wheedles his way into the life of the family, who think that he was a really good friend of this boy that's died, but he actually didn't know him at all. And that character is the hero of the movie, rather than the villain in some way. And also, it's a musical, so the characters are constantly breaking out into song in the middle of discussing these quite intense mental health challenges. When it came out in Broadway, it won loads of awards, and people loved it. And Evan Hansen was played originally by Ben Platt, who's an actor that appeared in the Pitch Perfect movies years ago. And so that was in 2015. And then in 2021, they decided, let's make a movie of it. And because everybody loved Ben Platt's performance so much originally, let's cast him again, even though now he's 26 years old and no longer looks like a high school senior. So to sort it out, they made him grow his hair really long and curly. And they put all makeup and prosthetics on his face to try and make him look younger. And what they actually end up doing is they make him look 10 years older. So it looks like you're watching a movie where a man in his mid-30s pretends to go to high school and falls in love with a teenage girl and pretends to be the best friend of this teenage girl's brother. It is...
That sounds creepy as fuck.
That
sounds 100 times more interesting.
It's bizarre. It's such a fascinatingly weird, because like I've got a weird little soft spot for musicals, and I've also got a soft spot for like films that everyone, like when everyone goes, "This movie's terrible and here's why," and it's always a really interesting idea. I'm like, oh, like a really odd reason why it's terrible. I'm always like, I want to see that. And whenever you look up Dear Evan Hansen, the reviews, the word that comes up again and again and again to describe Ben Platt is ghoul or ghoulish. And I was like, this can't, like, it won all these awards on Broadway. It must be at the centre. It must be something good. And
maybe the alternate title was like Quasimodo Goes to School.
he literally walks around hunched up like this.
Oh God!
He does look. He kind of holds himself with a posture like a hunchback almost in the movie.
Is it set in Paris?
No, it's set in America somewhere.
He just randomly climbs the Notre Dame Cathedral, picks the
But also, his mum is played by Julianne Moore. Like you've got big, and the love interest is played by Caitlin Dever, who was in Booksmart and has been in a few other things. So really, like a great cast all around it and stuff. So I kind of watched it with a really open mind, wanting to enjoy it and wanting to be able to be like, no, actually, I think this movie's okay. No, it's just really bad. It's really, really shockingly terrible. And he really, like, it was a bad decision to try and make this 27-year-old guy look like he's in school. And he's about the same age John Travolta was when he played a high school student in Grease. But in that movie, they're just like, we're going to cast everyone to be at this
everybody's
age.
Old in that film.
And we're just going to... They're teenagers, so it's fine. Whereas in this movie, they're like, no, we're going to try and make him look young, but we're going to hire the worst people in the world to do it, apparently.
Well, Nicola Coughlan, who's in Derry Girls, she's like 32 or 33 or something, and she's playing like 16, and she does it so convincingly.
Yeah, but...
That's amazing.
Ben Platt.
And what was it? I've got to find the name of this actress, but... I remember I saw this meme where this one actress, she's been playing like a high schooler for the last 20 years or something. She doesn't seem to age, so they just keep recycling her into side bits for films.
There's that one actress that plays Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter movies who was like 40 when she played her, and she plays like the ghost of a teenage girl,
Bloody hell.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So I mean, Dear Evan Hansen, I wouldn't recommend.
How was the music?
The music is not amazing. Like, kind of.
Okay.
It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. Like, I don't quite understand why this. And I think there's been a big turn on this, where like now people are like, actually, the plot of this movie is really the plot of this entire story. This should never have been hailed as a great musical because the plot is weird, like creepy. Like what? Like why does he do that? Like. Strange. It's such a strange thing. But I always, whenever there's something that one set of people kind of hold up as amazing and then it enters another area of culture and everyone kind of decides it's terrible, I always find that really like fascinating, interesting thing. So I wanted...
Like, I have to watch this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long as well. It's not short.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No, sorry. No way.
Pretty long.
Anyway, that's that. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you ever get a chance to see it for free... just watch 20 minutes of it just to see how like ghoulish this guy is. It's bizarre. The only thing I mentioned is because it's relevant to when I was on Film versus Film. I did also get to see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage movie where he plays himself being paid $1 million to go and spend a weekend at a millionaire's birthday party in Spain. The millionaire in question played by Pedro Pascal, and it's a delight. It's a really fun, nice time.
Oh, sweet.
It is literally filled to the brim with references to just about every movie Nicolas Cage has ever made, including a great Leaving Las Vegas reference and a couple of really great nods to The Rock as well. So, yeah, I liked it. Has anyone else managed to see that one yet?
Yeah, I've managed to see it this week. Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. Who's the character, like his imaginary like conscience?
Oh,
guy?
Nicky.
I can't remember.
It's
Nicky.
him done to look like he looked in Wild at Heart, right? I think.
Oh, right. That's the one I haven't seen.
It's great. Wild at Heart's a great film.
Yeah.
And
his alter ego in that is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, there is a pretty great scene where Nicolas Cage makes out with himself.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But yeah, no, definitely go and see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent if you can. I enjoyed it. But yeah, that is Culture Catch Up for this week, I think. Thanks for joining, everyone.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
Let's get into our topic today then. Top 5 Bruce Willis movies, top 5 Bruce Willis performances, however you want to cut it.
This was hard.
Yeah,
I haven't found a hard list like this for a while.
Yeah, this was a tough one.
Because there's a lot of films and some bad ones, which he's good in.
Yeah, there are bad movies that he's good in.
Yeah, so
including one in particular that I'm going to have on my list for certain. But we threw this over to you guys to pick the topic for us when you were guests. So why did you go with Bruce Willis movies?
Well, we kind of realised that we'll probably not cover any Bruce Willis films on our podcast because he's sadly recently retired because he's been diagnosed with aesthesia. So yeah, he's sadly retired. And we probably kind of know the reason why now. He's been making a lot of these, straight to DVD videos because he's probably trying to pay off medical bills. I'm not sure, but yeah, so it's quite sad. So for let's have a kind of reminisce, I guess.
I think we did at least one film that he's in.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah. So when you asked us to come on, we were like, you know what? He's recently retired. Let's do Bruce Willis movies on your pod.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it definitely fit. I mean, we've done episodes recently on Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves, so let's do another sort of icon of 90s cinema. That kind of falls in line with what we do. So it's pretty good. How did you find making your lists? How did tricky or easy or?
I don't think I've ever watched so many Bruce Willis films in such a short period of time, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's a few I didn't manage to rewatch, but I'm pretty happy with my top 5.
Good.
Pretty happy with it.
And mine took ages to pull together, but I'm feeling happy with it, I think.
I'm worried about my number 5, but it's fine.
Did everyone put Fifth Element as number 5?
No.
I prefer the sequel.
In fact, you will be very surprised where I put it.
Interesting.
Oh God, Boaz, you haven't, have you? Jesus Christ!
Shut up, man. Good nostalgic feeling about that movie.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I watched The Fifth Element this morning. It was the last thing I did before we started recording because I hadn't seen it in a very long time. But yeah, the sequel, The Sixth Sense, is probably a little bit better in my opinion. But
you're such a I never watched The Sixth Sense.
That is hilarious.
Really?
I think I just got that.
Oh my God.
Element.
Seriously.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah. Well, the way we normally do it is that we kind of, me and Alex go back and forth with our choices and talk about them as we go. But I thought, as there's 4 of us and there's probably going to be a lot of crossover, if we each just go round and say our 5s and then our 4s and our 3s, and I'll note down what we all say, and then we can kind of talk about the relevant choices at the end of it. So we can go the same order we did with Culture Catch Up. And Alex, what's your number 5?
Okay. My number 5, I had to choose between 2, and they're both very bad films, but I really love Bruce Willis in it. But I think I made a choice because Bruce Willis has different hairstyles in it, and he's really serious.
Fair enough.
So my number 5 is called The Jackal.
The Jackal.
Oh shit! Okay.
I have a soft spot for that. I nearly rewatched that.
Martin, number 5, go.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's a good choice.
Nice.
Boaz, what have you gone with number 5?
Sin City.
Sin City.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah, I've only seen that once. I need to watch that again, I think.
Yeah, I
awesome.
still quite like Sin City. I think it's great.
For my number 5, I've gone with a film that we've already mentioned earlier, Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh, Captain Sharp.
Yeah, he plays Captain Sharp. Love it. Okay, Alex, number 4.
Number 4, is your number 5 is Bruce Willis as Captain Sharp in Moonrise Kingdom.
Nice.
I love him.
Martin.
Unbreakable.
Oh,
That's my number 4.
First M. Night Shyamalan movie on the list there. I like it. Buzz.
This is where I put Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Fair call. My number 4, again a movie that we've already talked about, The Fifth Element. I've popped that at number 4,
nice.
Where he plays Corbin Dallas. Okay, Alex, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Bruce Willis as Butch Coolidge in Pulp Fiction.
Nice. Okay. First mention of that. Martin?
My number 3 is Sin City.
Interesting. Okay. Boaz?
My number... What are we on now?
Three.
3.
Okay, my number 3 is The Fifth Element.
Oh.
Nice. And I've gone with at number 3, the sequel, The Sixth Sense.
Stupid.
Gonna ride that joke into the ground. Yeah. Alex, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Bruce Willis as John McClane in Die Hard.
Lovely choice. Martin?
My number 2 is The Sixth Sense.
Oh.
Nice. Good shout. And Boaz, number 2?
So I'm still not sure where to put my number 2 in one.
Oh, come on, man.
So I'm gonna go with As Is. But I went Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction at number
Great.
2. Okay. My number 2 is the same as Alex's, Die Hard. John McClane. Yeah.
Because we're basic.
Exactly, because I'm basic. That's why. What's your number? Oh, so this is the big one now. So Alex, the best Bruce Willis performance of all time is
Bruce Willis as Corbin Dallas in The Fifth Element.
Fair Play.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, he won that competition.
Yeah, he really did. Martin, what's your pick for the absolute best he's ever been?
Mine is John McTierman's finest piece of work, in my opinion. It is Die Hard.
you're basic too, like us.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Basic bitch.
Basic.
Bookending your list with Die Hards. I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
And I hope no one is going with Glass, because no one gives a shit about Glass.
Oh no, definitely not. No, not.
You need glass to make windows. Glass is important. Cups, pencils.
Not where you don't have any shoes.
True.
Boaz, what's your pick for the absolute top? What is better than Pulp Fiction?
Okay, so I've picked 12 Monkeys.
Wow,
Oh,
interesting.
good
First
choice.
mention of 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is twice as good as Sixth Sense, I suppose.
True.
Oh, the comedy's
on,
off
dude.
the chain today.
Just tumbleweed from
My pick for my favourite Bruce Willis performance of all time is one that no one's mentioned yet, and it is his performance as the title role in the classic Hudson Hawk.
What the hell is that?
I know. George made me draw it, and I was like, who the hell is this? What the hell is this film?
Oh, I'm so excited that you've all got blank faces. I can tell you all about Hudson Hawk.
Well, they've got blank faces. I've got a blank screen.
True. That's interesting. I'm looking at our lists, and I don't think there's a single movie that appears in all 4 lists, which kind of shows, I guess, the range of what he did over the course of his career, that we can all make kind of equally different lists. I think the one that's mentioned the most is Die Hard. So let's have a little chat about Die Hard, and we can incorporate Die Hard with a Vengeance in there as well, as Martin and Boaz have both picked that. This was his first sort of big Hollywood role after being in the TV show Moon something. Moon.
We're going to pretend we know his career.
Moonlight. I think it was called Moonlight because
Moonlighting.
Moon Knight, I think.
Moon Knight. He played Stephen Grant.
Yeah.
And Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, Moonlighting. I kept my brain just wanted to say Moonstruck, but that's
Moonlighting.
Nicolas Cage. That's not Bruce Willis.
Oh, great film.
What made you pop Die Hard on your list at number 2, Alex?
Because it's like an action film, and it's also funny, and I watched it so many times, and I just remember so many things about it. It's full of action. It's got some iconic scenes. There's some glass, futon glass. It's one man against everyone, a little bit like John Wick. It's just amazing. It's a great film.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis is like an action comedic actor here. Like, he's also really funny. He's and so I think that's why it's so good.
I think when this movie came out, action movies were full of quips, and it was the era of like Schwarzenegger doing his one-liners and Stallone doing his one-liners. But the thing that made this different from those movies is that like John McClane feels like somebody that could actually get hurt. Like, you see him wince and you see the pain that he goes through as he gets beaten apart by these terrorists. Whereas like Schwarzenegger and Stallone, it was always about the fact that they could just kind of storm through a building of people and come out of it looking exactly the same. Whereas Bruce Willis feels like a person.
He's the ultimate everyman.
Exactly,
isn't he?
he's the ultimate everyman.
You can relate to him so much, can't you? Because he's just a cop. He's not a superhero. He doesn't have any super strength. So he's just very relatable.
Until you get to the later films in the Die Hard.
I mean, Die Hard 4, where he fights a plane.
Yes, where he fights a plane. They get
and destroys a helicopter with a car.
Yes, he does.
Or does that bit in Die Hard 5, which is one of the worst movies I've ever sat through, where he...
no, I didn't bother with that.
So terrible. He jumps out of a window and falls about 40 feet onto some glass and then just gets up and runs off. They turn him into a superhero in those movies, and it kind of completely forgets what made the original so good. Why did you pop it at number 1, Martin? What makes it the absolute top of the pile?
I think it's just an action classic. I think it's by far the best Die Hard film, I think. It's kind of really interesting with the script as well, as you say. It's really hilarious at times. Welcome to the party, pal, and glass. Who gives a shit about glass? And that constant dialogue between the cops in the car and John McClane at the top, and he's like, oh, I'm quite partial to Roy Rogers, actually, not John Wayne. It's just really quippy and a really clever really clever script as well, because as the terrorists take over the Nakatomi building, the Nakatomi Plaza, sorry, that doesn't seem to be a relationship, from what's his name, Alan Rickman's character, Hans Gruber. He, from all the hostages, he doesn't know that anyone is related to John McClane until he finds the picture of Holly in the room. So it's just kind of a nice reveal there, which furthers the story. It's just, it's hilarious. It's just like really grounded action as well, like really slick action, nothing too ridiculous. And again, like, it's kind of late 80s, isn't it? 88.
Yep.
So again, me and Boaz are quite big fans of practical action, and there's not a lot of CG in this at all. So it's just really visceral and also I just kind of love films where the hero is kind of stuck in a particular place, just like John McTierman's previous film Predators. They're just trapped in this jungle, with the predator just taking them out, and John McClane is just on his own in this building, surrounded by terrorists, and he's got to try and take them out one by one, and he could literally slip up and fail any time. And I mean, there are occasions where it is a bit silly. I mean, there's one scene where one of the bad guys finds him in one of the rooms, and there's a really long table, and the bad guy John McClane is under the table. The bad guy gets on top of the table and walks along it while shooting him. I'm just like, you could just shoot him under the table, but and he just takes him out through the table. But it's fun. It's just so much fun and just really epic. In that bit at the end where the massive German guy with long hair comes out all raging and firing off his machine gun, and the black police guy who's never he shot a kid before, we told Bruce Willis, which is quite an emotional moment for that character as well. So it's just a really epic moment when he shoots the massive German dude at the end.
Definitely.
I love it.
So good.
Boaz, you've got Die Hard 3 on your list, but not Die Hard. What makes you put Die Hard 3 above the original?
So I think I would have put Die Hard, and I would have put it like later, and this isn't like I suppose, how you do top fives, but I thought a lot of people are going to put Die Hard.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want my list to just be like half Die Hard.
That's fair.
Because I actually like a lot of them. I haven't watched the last one.
Don't.
Yeah. Do you know, actually, I heard something incredibly interesting. I was watching a YouTube documentary about like the making of all the Die Hards, and they said the fifth Die Hard is the only one which the script was meant to be a Die Hard movie.
Yes.
And that to me is crazy. That is really crazy. Apparently, Die Hard 1 is an adaptation of the book Nothing Lasts Forever. Die Hard 2 took... it was based on a script that was going to be an adaptation of a novel called 58 Minutes. So a completely different book by a completely different author, and they just kind of put John McClane in it. Die Hard 3 was an original script called Troubleshooter, and then they rewrote it to have John McClane in it. And I think Die Hard 4 was something. It's called it had some new agey electronic name, but it also was an original script that they just injected John McClane in it. I think that is fascinating. It was a really interesting part.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry for my tangent there. I just thought
it's an interesting one.
I'm glad you explained it because I didn't realize what you said. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are they not all Die Hards?
Yeah. Well, it's like the original scripts that they penned were not meant to be Die Hard movies.
Wow.
They rewrote them to put John McClane in them. I think
Amazing.
that's pretty insane. But I think Die Hard 3 I put on because I think that needs a mention because I watched it a lot later, and I've watched Die Hard, and I really like Die Hard 3. I don't think it, gets brought up enough. I love his chemistry with Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
I genuinely like the bad guys' plan on robbing the Federal Reserve. I think it's incredible and elaborate.
I love it because
heist
I love it
movies,
because
so
they make
Jesus.
the police just look stupid.
Yeah. But I just think it's got a couple of nice, really good twists in it, and I like the ending and stuff. Another interesting thing I found out about Die Hard 3 is the ending was originally going to be a lot darker and sadder.
Really?
Yeah, apparently, and they even shot it. You can even watch clips of it. The bad guy actually manages to get away, and John McClane gets fired, and his life is just trash because the bad guy succeeded. And then he finds the bar where the bad guy is years later and plays Russian roulette with him with a rocket launcher. It's absolutely insane. Yeah.
What do you think of Jeremy Irons in comparison to Alan Rickman in terms of who's the better European baddie?
Alan Rickman.
I think Alan Rickman is the better villain.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
that's
Mr.
hard to
Katagi,
beat,
I will count 2, 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
love that guy.
I do have a big soft spot though for Jeremy Irons in Die Hard Revenge.
Yeah, he's still great.
He's about as good as you can get without just hiring Alan Rickman again for that kind of type of villain character.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
I guess the small criticism with it is the fact that they don't necessarily get to the heart of this vengeance part of the title. It's it does feel a bit.
Well, it's meant to be
tacked
a diversion tactic almost, isn't it? The idea that he wants revenge for the death of Hans Gruber, and that's why it makes him involve John McClane, and it's all to distract him from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. And I think that kind of ties in with the first film because his brother was making it look like he was some sort of ideological, was doing it for ideological reasons when actually it was to get to the vault. So this one, it's to revenge about my brother. It doesn't give a fuck about his brother. It's to rob the...
I love that bit in the original Die Hard where Alan Rickman's listing off all these terrorists he wants freed, and he just stops and says to his mate, I read about them in Time magazine or something. He's got no idea who any of these people are. It's a pretty good film.
I just love the fact that he uses, Simon Says as his massive misdirect throughout the story. There's a scene where the first riddle they have to do, and they get it wrong, and they jump into the street and they think the bomb is going to go off. But then when they get to the phone, he says he's laughing and the bomb didn't go off. He's like, I didn't say, Simon Says. But then like when they have the scene in the FBI car, when that brilliant scene where one of the FBI guys is like sat at the back, you know, saying nothing until, have you heard of the name Gruber? You know, when Jeremy Irons, you know, talks to them, you know, he's like, you know, says hello to the other FBI guys. Are you still chewing your glasses, Bill, to make you look macho or something? You know, that was brilliant.
Oh yeah, like he's sort of omnipresent.
But when he sets up the plot of the fact that there's a bomb in the school, he doesn't say Simon Says. And it's like, I'm like, no one catching, they didn't say Simon Says, people. Come on, play the game.
Yeah. I like some of the twists in that. Like, especially, I think one of my favorite scenes that sticks out to me is an action scene, but it's the least actiony of it. But I just like how it's kind of explained later, where Simon sends all those guys dressed as cops to take him. And he's made to believe they're just policemen. And he just looks at their badges and then just looks away. And then he says some sort of joke about lottery numbers and then just shoots them. Yeah. And I'm like, why the hell did you do that? And he was like, he's using his cop experience. The badge number, the ID numbers are just incorrect. Like, he would know that. He's like, you know.
Well, he recognizes the badge number because they're all saying that they all use the numbers for the lottery. Yeah, you know, earlier on in the film. Yeah, so it's quite clever writing to take those guys down.
But, you know, I like that. Just when the good guy is kind of cleverer than the audience, and it's not you know, done in such a way that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it is good writing. I like it. Let's take a trip to France and discuss one of the maddest movies he's ever done, the Fifth Element. Alex, you've popped this at number 1. So why do you like this movie so much?
Well, I love the movie in general. Like, it's just a perfect movie. I love Luc Besson.
Yay.
And I think this is a crazy film. It's just crazy. Like, anything that happens here, like, I don't know why. And I think, you know, this comes like maybe 10 years after Die Hard.
About that, like 9 years, I think.
Yeah,
99.
I mean, it is a mad film because of just how much crazy shit is. I mean, you got aliens, warriors from the past, you know, high sci-fi cars and flying and all. Some demon meteorite.
Yes, but
it's
also,
crazy. You know,
at the end, it's all about love. It's like,
it's all about love.
It's all about the love, and it's just so. And it's just such a great film. It's so entertaining. Yeah. It's so, and Bruce Willis is, you know, 9 years after, he hasn't changed. He's still like an action hero, and he's just brilliant in this film.
He's really, he's really charismatic.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've seen a movie where a plane taking off, a man blowing up, and a female orgasm caused by what can only be described as Chris Tucker's bleached dildo haircut cut all together. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's quite. That
is insane.
That is a very ambitious little bit of editing that they do there to kind of interlink all
Jesus
of those
Christ.
But it works.
I love this film, but I just was so disappointed Chris Tucker didn't die. I'm like,
oh God, okay, yeah, I will say that. I was saying, watching it when I was a kid, I was like, oh, the amusing clown man, you know, that's funny. Rewatching it, you're like, Chris Tucker, shut the fuck up for 2 seconds, will you? You know, like,
that's true.
Yeah,
but that haircut. What the fuck is that all about? Jesus Christ!
It is like they went to a man and said, "Can we pay you $3 million to sabotage our movie, please?"
I don't know. I don't know. Is he that annoying? Like, he is annoying. He's supposed to be annoying.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be annoying.
It's like the comedic kind of like annoyance that you know.
I think the fact that it's well over an hour into the movie before he turns up is the only reason that it kind of is. All
yeah,
right.
I think that
because you don't have to put
really
up with too much of it.
Yeah,
I intermittently humorous to have him screeching and yelling while Bruce Willis is trying to like fight a room full of pigmen.
Yeah,
but it,
the pig man
comes close. But I think a big part of why the movie works is that it is so mad and so full of just high strangeness that the reason why you can go with it is because at the centre of it, you've got such a safe pair of hands in Bruce Willis, who is just pretty much doing his John McClane thing, but it needs to have that kind of something in the middle you can hang on to and say, right, I know where I am with this. I know where I am with Bruce Willis, and everything that's happening around him you can kind of just go with. And it also, like, Milla Jovovich has not had the career that she should have had off the back of this. She is so fantastically good in this movie.
Yeah,
I know we're talking about Bruce Willis,
that, but... I was going to say that when you're talking about Bruce Willis, you've got to talk about her, because I just love her, like childhood innocence, rage, and then just kind of understanding and eventually like love, just that whole thing. Yeah. I think that's great, especially when she, that bit where she gets shot and so she's like crying, she's like, she's dying, and he's like cradling her, and you think she's been such a badass, and she's just like she's like a frightened kid, It's, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, she's great. Multipass. Lilu Dallas. Multipass.
Yeah, multipass.
Multipass. I think the only thing that doesn't fully hold up with time, in my opinion, a little bit, is Gary Oldman's performance in that movie.
Oh, shut up. Shh. Gary Oldman can do no wrong.
No, he can't do anything. I just finished, I didn't mention him, but I just watched all of the first season of Slow Horses on Apple TV, and he is so good in that. But I think that he's doing what he did in Leon, but not quite as well as he does it in Leon, in my opinion. And he just sort of ends up getting...
top lunatic.
Yeah, he gets taken out by a bomb. He doesn't even sort of fight the hero at the end. I just feel like he doesn't get fully served by the movie. It's my one sort of little complaint.
I liked him.
I love the little gun. Well, they're not a little, but that like awesome gun he has with like all the different ways of killing aliens or whatever.
I think the character was pretty cool, and I think Gary Oldman was good, and just unrecognizable. I do think it's more like he's not utilized properly, but.
I actually love Ian Holm in this film as well as the priest. There's that brilliant scene where he has with Gary Oldman in Gary Oldman's office, and he's choking on like a cherry, and like all these things are popping up on his desk. Even a weird mutant elephant thing comes up,
elephant,
and and Ian Holm is just like, all the things. All the things that you've got in your life or whatever to try and help you, you're being defeated by a cherry, I thought that was just a brilliant scene.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this film is like hilarious as well at times. There's even a scene where like a blue alien with tentacle thingies sings hip hop opera. I'm like, I've never seen that before. There's just a lot of funny moments in this film.
Do you remember that guy was trying to like rob him? And he's like been standing there all night and he needs a piss. He's like trying to hold him up. And he's like, you just got to press that button. And he presses it, deactivates the gun. And he's like...
He's wearing that. He's got that weird photograph of the corridor on his hat that he places in front of the views.
Yeah, places on the...
That was weird.
Strange.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. This film is so weird.
It is so weird. It is kind of... I think watching it is kind of... Yeah, it's like being like high or something. It is very kind of...
Yeah. But I just love, like, with Luc Besson films, apart from Lucy.
What was that? Like Lucy, the best movie of all time?
No. Dreadful.
Film versus film, you grab your movie, you grab yours, fight to the death.
Anyway, but, like, when Luc Besson does, like, proper, like, hard space sci-fi, he just goes all in and just shitload of colors. The designs are amazing. They're just so brilliant to look at. Like, you could just pause it for a while and just look at the screen and just appreciate all the sets and things. It's just great. I think the only
and even all the aliens, you're like, whoa, that is like a crazy design here. And even what people are wearing, like fashion, you're like, it doesn't feel like he's just half-assed it. It all looks very very well designed.
My big disappointment with the movie is that Bruce Willis doesn't turn into a USB stick at the end. That's the only thing that kind of stops it from being as good as, say, something like Lucy, which is obviously a 5-star.
Well, I really love his apartment. like the bath is like one room and it's got like everything and the toaster.
Oh yeah,
and
things move out of the
and the shower
sides and
becomes
shit.
the bed, and then this boat arrives at his window and he sells him Chinese food. It's just I just love it.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel plausible, all that stuff as well. Just like really like stacked apartments and, you know,
one day.
the side of the wall opens up.
Definitely.
I wouldn't like to live like that, though. God, no.
I mean, it's definitely a red flag that every apartment appears to have like markings on the wall to tell you where to put your hands in case the police try to break into your home.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember when they say identify? You know, are you human? And he's like, no, I am a meat popsicle.
Well, that's a brilliant line. Yeah.
Right, let's go to a director that used his sort of stoic quietness to much different effect with M. Night Shyamalan and his The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, which appear on our lists. Who has placed any of these the highest?
I put Unbreakable as number 4.
And you put The Sixth Sense at number 2, Martin, as well, I believe. So
yes,
what made you place that so highly? Why do you like these films?
What, Sixth Sense? I remember watching The Sixth Sense like when I was pretty young, and it was pretty scary. There's some really interesting scares in this as well. There's like a really crazy one with a lady who like slits her wrists and chases Cole, you know, the 70s kid who says, "Come on, I'll show you my dad's gun," you know. And turns around and half of his head has been blown away, you know, like the throwing up girl, you know, how that was constructed, where the ghost is like unclipping the pegs on his den, and so you think this ghost is on the outside, but as the camera goes on, the girl is on the inside of the den, which definitely made me jump. You know, some really great scares in this, but I just love films where like the second experience of watching it is so different from the first time. Because certainly the first time when you watch it, I was so shocked that Bruce Willis was dead, you know. Spoiler. But obviously when you watch it again, it's just so I just find M. Night Shyamalan, when he gets it right, boy does he get it right. I think he's an absolute genius at times, especially
it kind of reframes a lot of their scenes together. You're like, you know, well, why isn't she talking to her husband? Well, he is dead. You know, she is mourning. You know,
Who's dead?
It's pretty good.
Do you not know the?
Somebody.
Do you not know the
kid is
twist?
dead.
Is that the big twist?
Do you not know the big twist in The Sixth Sense?
No.
Alex?
No. What's
I
the big
forget we
twist?
said anything.
Nothing. There isn't.
Everybody's alive.
Well, it's difficult to talk about The Sixth Sense without talking about the twist. But...
I know there's a big twist, but I tried always to avoid it.
All right.
But somebody's dead. Bruce Willis.
Yeah. No, not Bruce Willis. Who said Bruce Willis? Nobody said Bruce Willis.
Nobody's dead.
But I really like how they kind of marry up the fact that his character has died, you know, and is a ghost, but with his wife's character is going through, you know, a big like grieving process, and how that marries up, I think, is absolute genius. To be honest, there's a brilliant scene in the early on in the film where they're going out to dinner, and she's obviously very upset, even the first time you watch it and the second time, but for differing reasons. And you know, she just takes the bill because the first time you watch it, you think she's just pissed off at him for something, and but obviously the second time she just takes it because he ain't there. So it's just really well designed in that sense.
Yeah. Did you hear about the famous Chinese translation of the title? What they went with the title instead?
No, what's it called in China?
It's called "He's a Ghost."
No, is it really?
Yeah. I think that's brilliant.
Fair enough. I mean, it definitely
We don't have time for these bloody twists and spoilers.
The thing is, whether you know the twist or not, it still is just a brilliant ghost story, isn't it? Like, it's such a great, creepy, strange movie. You've put also on your list, Martin, Unbreakable. Why do you like that one?
I find this film really fascinating, actually, in terms of the superhero genre, because this film, it's really, I really like the slow pace of it. I always enjoy a movie that asks a lot of questions with like a shock twist at the end. The twist that Elijah Glass was the villain and he's finally found his purpose in the world. That he's the complete opposite of David Dunn, and his comic book lore and obsession becomes true. It's really interesting psychologically. I actually liked the fact that it ended there, and then you don't get like the traditional like fight at the end, if you will, that a lot of like origin films have. That Mr. Glass just creates this elaborate plot that David Dunn has to foil because he's seen, because we've seen that story before. And I just love the confidence in just telling a pure origin story of self-discovery of a superhero and a supervillain, but then you don't have like a story after that. I just find that incredibly bold, and it's really well crafted as well. There's some beautiful shots in here where there's a really nice shot where David Dunn is in his like classic raincoat, which is kind of like his superhero costume, and he's approaching a window as the curtains are like flapping around. It's just a really nice shot because he's coming in and out of view from the curtains as the wind blows. It's a really nice shot that, I just love it. Just the boldness of just ending there, this is just drawn out a lot to create like an origin for this obsessive guy in Mr. Glass and Elijah, and David Dunn just discovering that he's not ill, and has never been ill in his past and can't break any bones. And that scene where Elijah is like trying to chase a guy because I can't remember the reason now.
It was Bruce Willis could foresee that he had a gun, and he told him to get out of the stadium. Yeah. And he was like, "How do you know that?" And he was like, "I don't know. It's just like a hunch, I guess." And he saw him as he was walking. Yeah, he saw him as he was walking by, and he was trying to run after him.
Mm. But that scene when he's chasing him, going down the stairs, oh my God, that is filled with so much suspense. Because obviously if he falls over, he's going to break a lot of bones. And it's just like, oh my God, please don't fall over. And he does fall over, and it's just horrible. When he's falling down those stairs.
Where Sam Jackson falls down those stairs is
makes you wince
upsetting.
A lot.
Yeah, it does.
Does it? Do you think it taints the original at all? The fact that the long-awaited sequel ended up being a big miss.
I don't think so. I've not seen it.
You haven't even seen it?
Glass.
Oh, wow.
No.
So he won't see it because he doesn't want it to taint the original.
Yeah, exactly. As I said before, Glass. Who gives a shit about Glass? Anyway.
Which one was it? The next one?
So after Unbreakable, there was...
So Split was the spin-off, wasn't it?
Yeah, Split which
was the spin-off of it.
Split with...
James McAvoy.
And they just had, like, David
Dunn
at the last shot.
Is it not really controversial, Split, now? Like, people are really against it?
Well, there's some sort of discourse about... it's a bit of an exploitation movie, isn't it, in terms of the way it approaches mental health and the condition that James McAvoy's character supposedly has, but it's...
multiple
it's a sort of a grimy little B movie that I don't think it needs to be taken particularly seriously. But then,
I don't think you should take it seriously. Like, and I get that the condition is very, it's not very well understood, and and like many things that do about mental conditions, it doesn't mean you'll become a supervillain. Like, that's silly. But I think his version of it is like just ridiculous. It's obviously science fiction. It's not that he has multiple personality disorder. He literally turns into like different people. He looks the same, but this is just... He
can bend steel bars at the end when he turns into a...
Yeah, exactly. He's like, he's fucking got super strength, And some of his personalities have like diabetes and stuff. It's like, that cannot be a thing,
I think
I wouldn't get too bent out of shape.
The fact that it reveals itself at the end to be set in the same world as Unbreakable kind of makes it a bit more, because then it's set in a heightened superhero sort of world, where you've already got a man that can't break any bones, etc. But never mind. Never mind. Unbreakable, though, is a great film, and The Sixth Sense is a great film.
Indeed.
Boaz, you've got 12 Monkeys at your number one spot, and you are the only person to mention it. Why do you place that so highly?
I just think it's an amazing performance, and I don't think it really gets enough attention. 12 Monkeys, Terry Gillingham has like a Gilling. I probably pronounced that wrong, but the director,
Gillingham.
He's got a particular style where everything looks kind of grimy and weird, and I just don't know why not as many people talk about it. One thing I think is great. I know it's kind of a trope now, but it really kind of nails it hard. Is the whole concept of delusion and the mental health system. So this. I would not say the mental health system. Yeah, I would agree with that. But he's a time traveler. He comes from the future and is trying to discover who released this virus that ended the world. But as soon as he starts talking about that, he is immediately committed. And I just kind of like the evolution of the character, where after all these psych evaluations and all these chats with his doctors, he's starting to really think, yeah, maybe I am losing it. And I just like Bruce Willis's sort of descent into just uncertainty and fear, and he's just kind of like a mess throughout the movie, and he's getting worse and worse. And I just think it's an interesting movie, and I think it's a good performance from Bruce Willis. Yeah. It's a really good performance.
I really like how Dr. Stowe kind of goes the other way. Like, she's increasingly convinced that Cole is telling the truth, whereas at the start she was like, nah, this guy is clearly mentally ill. I just like the fact that those two characters,
they switch roles,
swap views,
Yeah, because he's like, listen, so many people are telling me I'm crazy, and it does sound crazy, and he's getting convinced away from it. Where she, the more he sort of says about the past and stuff, she's convincing.
Yeah.
Isn't that at one point there was a bullet in his leg because he accidentally ended up in World War One or something.
Yeah.
And it turns out, that was dated to World War One. How can you explain that if he's not a time traveler?
Yeah. It did definitely feel like a Doctor Who episode at that point in the film.
Yeah.
I think for me, I did have it in my top 5 for a while, but I kind of wanted to put. But then I wanted Unbreakable in there and The Sixth Sense and that one. Yeah. So I was like, it's probably 6th or 7th for me.
Yeah.
But I think for me,
I wanted to put things like Unbreakable, Sixth Sense. I wanted to put loads of other stuff in there. But yeah, I thought not a lot of people would have had that. I do think the performance is really good. I think it's one of his best.
I disagree. I'm not
really.
I'm not entirely convinced by his performance, to be honest, as Bruce Willis. I think Bruce Willis's character. I think because you compare that to Brad Pitt, he's astonishing in this film. I think
he's really good.
Yeah, and this whole plot of the fact that the whole 12 Monkeys part of it was a huge misdirect. I really like that. Yeah. But for me, I think I'm one of very few people that has actually seen La Jetée, that this film is based on. I saw it at university, and it's a short 20-minute film by Chris Marker, all still photographs. It's basically the same story, but condensed down. It's just so beautifully photographed, really simple and really hypnotic. It's really quite extraordinary film. And for me, 12 Monkeys, I love Terry Gillingham. There's a lot of great Terry Gillingham designs in here, a lot of see-through plastic. But I just find it's a tad long for me. And yes, it keeps the essence of La Jetée, but I think when you've seen that first, you're always kind of comparing a little bit. But I still really like it. A tad long, not fully convinced by Bruce Willis.
That's fair. Have you seen it, Alex?
Yeah, only a couple of times, so I couldn't put it in my list.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be cast out for saying this, but I've never seen a Terry Gilliam movie that I liked, so I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, wow. Other than
not even Brazil,
other than the Monty Python movies. No, I've tried to watch Brazil. I don't know what it is about his style. I just can't. I can never ever find a way into any of his movies that I've tried to watch. And I'm not going to say he's a bad director or anything. I just can't. It just doesn't seem to be for me, which is weird because I like odd, strange, surreal things. But no, I don't know. But it's definitely got big
yeah.
visual imagery in it and stuff. It's a memorable. I remember watching it for sure.
Yeah, I would urge checking out La Jetée, though. It's on YouTube. You know, it's only like 20 odd minutes. It's really cool.
I'll definitely look it up. La Jetée. So what? You've both got Sin City in your lists. What? Do you want to talk a little bit about why you place that highly?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have time to rewatch this one, but I just remember this being so vivid in design and just so bold. You know, this very super high contrast in white and black cinematography, and just really great uses of color. And like Elijah Wood's character being incredibly fucking creepy.
Is he playing the yellow,
which is
the
strange
yellow
because
bastard?
that's Frodo.
Yeah, Frodo.
Yeah.
No.
Frodo.
Yeah. No, the yellow bastard, that was a different actor. Elijah Wood is the guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Who eats prostitutes.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
What's Bruce Willis's? Because it's so long since I've seen Sin City. It's split into 3 stories, isn't it?
Yeah,
I remember the number of stories.
He plays Cardigan.
And what's his sort of story through the movie? What's he trying to do? I can't quite remember.
So his is the yellow bastard story arc. So he kind of sandwiches the movie. I think the film starts with his story, part of his story, and it ends with the rest of his story.
Right. Okay.
And it's what was it? He caught a serial killer, who's like the senator's son or something, and he ends up going to prison for all the shit that he did, you know, even though he caught him doing it, but because the senator can control everything, he ends up going to jail. And the girl grows up, Nancy, becomes Jessica Alba, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the serial killer guy becomes like yellow and stinky, and he wants wants to find Jessica Alba, and obviously Bruce Willis is trying to stop that.
And they kind of don't they represent that in like this gold ambery color for blood or something?
Yeah.
Like his blood is a kind of weird, sort of weird yellowy browny, disgusting thing.
It's he's written some great stuff, but I wouldn't want to live in Frank Miller's head for even a minute.
No.
The least sort of chill guy of all time. So, I mean, famously as well, a scene in that movie was guest directed by Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, who also made Pulp Fiction, which is features on Boaz and Alex's lists. Why do you guys like that one?
I think what is a different side of Bruce Willis and a different character for him. He plays this boxer that is old, and he has to like lose this, quite vulnerable in a way. It's a vulnerable performance because then he finds himself in a situation that he shouldn't be in, but then he does the right thing and messes everybody up, which is good. That's one of the scenes in films that I hate the most, when they're underground in that arm shop. I can't watch
Zed's
I can't watch that scene.
Zed's shop.
I fast forward because it's just
really?
Well, I watch it to a certain point and then I fast forward and then I just stop because I can't. Oh, it's just horrible. And I think it's like a perfect part for Bruce Willis, and I think that's why I like him as an actor in a way. In like, I think directors like Quentin Tarantino and Wes Anderson got him and kind of gave him a part that kind of belonged to him and kind of made him different. And I think in this one he's more vulnerable, but at the same time he's not an action hero. Is a loser? He's not a loser.
I think he's kind of a jerk, actually. He's kind of a bit of a jackass, but like with a heart of gold. Jackass with a heart of gold.
A jackass with a heart of gold, because he went back in that basement. I would not go back in that basement.
Yeah, he comes back. He could have just he could have just solved his problems. Fuck that guy.
It makes me, it's horrible.
I think for me, I me and Boaz both love Pulp Fiction, but I don't see it necessarily as a Bruce Willis film. I think that storyline is the least interesting part of that film, and because it starts off so well with John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, you kind of want to see them again, like as soon as you can. That's the kind of the reason why I didn't put it in my top 5. Not because it's a really bad film, because I don't see it really as a Bruce Willis movie to me. I think as I know it's interconnected, but and he has a smaller part, and I feel like Bruce Willis is more present in Sin City than in Pulp Fiction in terms of like, you know, separate stories, anthology type story.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, I remember the first time I ever watched Pulp Fiction. At that point, I was quite young probably, and I didn't really know much about Quentin Tarantino, but I already loved Bruce Willis, and I think I watched it being like, this movie's got Bruce Willis in it, and at the end I remember being like, it was pretty good, but I love Bruce Willis in it. Yeah. So, and I've only watched it once or twice since then. I mean, I like it a lot. Obviously, it's a great film, but it's been on my kind of in my mind as a movie I want to watch again for about 5 or 6 years now, and I still haven't done it, which is probably the main reason why I didn't quite make my list, because I just need to watch it again.
Yeah, I watch it. I watch it quite. I've watched it. I watch it at least once a year. I love that
Yes,
film.
you have, Belle. you can do the what speech, can't you?
Yeah, I can do the
By
say
heart.
what again. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Can you do it? Do it now.
Okay. Let's see how I begin. Tell us what Marcellus Wallace looks like. He's like, what? He goes, he goes, where do you come from? What ain't a country I ever heard from, motherfucker? Where do you come from? He's like, what? Do they speak English in what? What? Say what again, motherfucker? I dare you. I double dare you. Say what one more goddamn time. Now, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? He's bald. Go on. He's black. Does he look like a bitch? No. No, he doesn't say no. He goes, what? And so he shoots him. And he goes, does he look like a bitch? No. Then why are you trying to fuck him like a bitch, Brett? He goes, I wasn't. Yes, you were. You were trying to fuck him. And Marcellus Wallace doesn't like to be fucked by anybody except Mrs. Wallace. Did you read the Bible, Brett? I got this passage memorized. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquity of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of goodness and charity shepherds the weak, because he is truly his brother's keeper and a finder of lost children. And I shall strike down upon thee in great vengeance and furious anger all those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Then they shoot the motherfucker.
That's amazing.
I got it eventually. I got it eventually.
Guys.
Rocky start, but I managed to pick it up.
That's the beauty of the writing of Quentin Tarantino.
It is,
the fact that it's so funny. This shouldn't be funny, but it's hilarious. And then suddenly it's just like, oh no. He's getting angry. That was great.
Perfect. Great. Well,
Yeah,
I think
perfect.
that says everything we need to say about Pulp Fiction. So,
Yeah.
how about? So, I think we've covered a lot of what was on the list, but we'll have a quick chat about Moonrise Kingdom. An amazing movie.
Amazing.
How did that fare on your Wes Anderson episode, guys?
I think it won.
What was it up against? Do you remember?
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
George
Bruce.
does not agree.
Well, I mean, I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is my number one Wes Anderson film, but
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay.
I also really love Moonrise Kingdom. I just think that Bruce, like the style and energy that Bruce Willis can bring to a movie, particularly at that era of his career, is such a perfect match for Wes Anderson's writing. I just I didn't watch the film again for this because I watched it about 3 or 4 months ago, but I watched a scene on YouTube where he's on the radio with Tilda Swinton of Social Services, and she says the boy might have electroshock therapy, and the way he reacts to that, like the way he can just sort of suddenly bring a load of emotion to the front in this movie that's kind of so bereft of emotion most of the time is joyous. And like the scene where he's like, I'm deputizing the little guy and the guy with the eye patch and you're going to come with me, and just the way he plays this small island police chief is wonderful. I think he's so good in that movie, and it's a pity that it's kind of the only it's the only time he worked with Wes Anderson. I think he could have done done more good work with him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think it's a very different performance to the one
Yeah.
he's kind of more associated with. You kind of forget that Bruce Willis is in this. You know, that's Bruce Willis.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of a father figure to
I was going to say that. Yeah,
to the
very
young man.
paternal,
Yeah,
very nurturing and stuff.
yeah, definitely. I watched the first episode of Stranger Things actually before we started recording today, and it's a bit like the if anyone's watched that, the relationship that Hopper ends up having with Eleven in Stranger Things is a bit maybe potentially even inspired by Moonrise Kingdom. I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah, I think it might.
Possibly.
What do you think, Alex? It's on your list as well.
Yeah, well, I love Wes Anderson. He is my hero, and so and I think Bruce Willis is amazing in this, and he's just completely different, and he's got a sensibility that maybe we have not seen before, and he managed to portray that in this film. So I really liked it.
And how about the Jackal? Let's go back to that.
Oh, that's so embarrassing.
No.
No, because
Stand by it.
the Jackal is the remake of a film called The Day of the Jackal, and the writer of The Day of the Jackal said that they had to take the day out of the remake because it's just
the plot is too different.
it's just too different and it's just doesn't. But what I love is just we've always seen Bruce Willis as an action man, and he's always doing the right thing, and in this one he was the bad guy, and he was actually quite scary. He's got this really stoic face throughout, and he's got different he's got different kind of camouflages, but he always looks a little bit different, and I really liked him in this. I thought he was the good part of this film, and I like him as the bad guy, and he hasn't done it. I don't think he hasn't really done it much, from what I remember.
Be a villain.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, to be a villain.
I can't think of another time that he's played a villain.
Yeah.
No.
And I think he's good in it. And
It does have that one fantastic sequence where he's buying a gun off. Is Jack Black playing the weapons dealer?
Jack Black, yeah.
And,
I was going to say, he blows off Jack Black's fucking arm, right? I remember that.
For that scene alone, I think it merits inclusion in your list.
Yeah. So
that scene's incredible
I
because I haven't watched that film since I was a kid, and literally I have not watched it again. I've not seen any, and I remember that with 100%.
I nearly didn't put it, not to embarrass myself. I was like, no, I'm just gonna put it. It's a fine film. But yeah, the Jackal.
Well, in terms of embarrassing ourselves, let me tell you about Hudson Hawk. No one else.
Oh yeah.
No one else has seen Hudson Hawk.
Jesus.
No.
I have got such an enormous love for this film that everyone else in the world detests. So the year is 1991. Bruce Willis is at the top of the world in terms of Hollywood royalties, just off the back of Die Hard and Die Hard 2.
I've looked on pictures of this.
Yeah, you'll probably recognize.
I've just looked at pictures of this.
Recognize the photo.
So I only remember one thing, and it was now this is going to seem really weird, but I'm really weird. I was looking at a video of best quips that action heroes do just after they kill someone. Yeah. So very, very niche video. And one of it, I think, was from this film where doesn't he cut off someone's head and say, "You won't be attending that hat convention in July"?
Yes, I think that is in this movie.
Yeah, that was it.
So the reason.
So that's the only thing I know about this movie.
This is a movie in which Bruce Willis came up with the story and wrote the theme song for it, and executive produced it, and is truly a distillation of what he would want a movie to be, and it never happened again because everyone hated it. But he plays internationally famous cat burglar, which shouldn't be a thing, but
hat salesman.
Hudson Hawk, who is released from prison at the start of the movie and immediately embroiled in a plot to steal Leonardo da Vinci's inventions, which will allow somebody to turn lead into gold. Exciting.
What the hell?
And is wrapped up in this scheme are some Italian American gangsters. One of them played by Frank Stallone. from the Mario crime family, who obviously referred to in the movie as the Mario Brothers, and there's no other Mario Brothers, so that's not confusing.
Nah, that is not right. And do they speak like this? Do they say?
They're from it says Frank Stallone. Get the bolognese.
Okay.
And is the Don of the family Donkey Kong?
No, they missed a trick there. And you've also got two billionaire industrialists involved, played by Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhard as the Mayflowers, and Richard E. Grant is having the best time in this movie that anyone has ever had. And the henchmen that chase Hudson Hawk throughout his adventure are all named after chocolate bars, so he has to fight Snickers, Kit Kat, Butterfinger and Almond's Joy throughout the movie.
No.
You're making this up. This isn't a real
movie.
You're just making
I've not even got to the best part. He teams up.
You're ridiculous.
Where did you put this?
Number one.
What?
He teams up with a secret agent nun played by Andy McDowell.
Oh my!
I'm watching this film as soon as this finishes.
Exactly.
As soon as this finishes,
And
I'm finding
his
this
best
movie.
friend is Tommy Five-Tone Messina, played by underrated character actor Danny Aiello, who is in Moonstruck and a variety of other movies. Is great. There are scenes in this film where Hudson Hawk and Tommy Messina have to break into buildings and steal things, as is the want of a cat burglar. And instead of using stopwatches to time their heists, they choose a song to sing, and they both sing it, and they both know the exact length of the song. So they just do their heist while singing a song such as "Swinging on a Star" or other like Frank Sinatra-esque tunes. To time up their heists, because as we all know, Bruce Willis was, among other things, a musician and released an album called The Return of Bruno.
I didn't know that.
He absolutely he did, yeah. No, Bruce Willis has an album called The Return of Bruno. I think it's probably on Spotify. You can go and listen to it, and it's all sort of Frank Sinatra-esque kind of big band swing kind of music. And this movie has got a stupid, weird, goofy sense of humour. It's full of that kind of music, and it seems to be everything that Bruce Willis would want to put in a movie. And it had a massive budget of $65 million, which for 1991 was quite a lot, and it was a huge bomb, and everyone hates it. But it's just, I kind of, like I said earlier, this is why I watch Dear Evan Hansen, because I'm always on the lookout for like vanity projects or weird projects, like weird misses, I love a big swing, and this movie is a big swing, and in my opinion, it hits, and it's drew a critical reevaluation, in my opinion. Hudson Hawk. I really,
you should lead that critical reevaluation.
I am.
Have it written in every paper.
Planting my flag here. It's also got a video game. There's a Nintendo video game for it. That's out. Yeah, it was a big. They thought Hudson Hawk was going to be big. No.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was not.
That's crazy. That is. Wow,
does this fall into the category? Does this fall into the category so bad it's good?
I guess you could say so bad it's good, but I don't know. I genuinely just like it on its own terms. I think it's a fun, silly, weird movie, but it's got the tone of a kids' film, but it's full of swearing. Like it's hard to know who it's for, other than me. It's for me.
I think that's why it couldn't get any audience and nobody liked it. It's for you specifically.
But if I can achieve anything today, it's if any of you watch Hudson Hawk, I'll be very delighted.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
I'll watch it tonight.
Yes. It's I love it. It's great. Well, that is I think we've covered and talked about all the movies that were in our lists. So we have time for a little quick run through of honourable mentions. Alex, anything that we haven't talked about that you think is worth mentioning?
Yes. The Last Boy Scout.
Love it. Watched it yesterday. Didn't make my list, but
so good.
Weird.
I watched it so many times.
Oh, definitely watch that.
It's so good. And then Armageddon, soft spot for Bruce Willis in it. Come on, he dies.
Doesn't NASA show that film to new recruits to say this is how space does not work?
It's such a silly film.
It is, but it's I remember that one.
The whole 9 yards.
Love it. Love that movie.
I love that movie. That was like between the Jackal and the whole 9 yards. I wasn't sure, but I chose the Jackal. And Sin City, which you talked about. And I quite liked him in Looper. I know.
Yeah, I liked Looper as well.
I thought he was good in it.
I need to watch Looper again.
Yeah, I missed a chance there. I think it was 4 days ago. It was on the TV, and I just didn't end up watching it. Should have watched it.
Yeah, I really like Rian Johnson's take on that film.
Yeah.
He wrote and directed it. It's just a really interesting original idea, and an interesting take on how to create a young Bruce Willis with Joseph Gordon-Levitt
plasticine on
with
him,
makeup. Yeah.
Put some Play-Doh on his nose. That's fine.
If you, yeah, I'm not sure that entirely works, but as if you see past that, I think it's a really interesting story and just really well made world. Rian Johnson's created there, and I'm a big fan of Emily Blunt as well, and she's awesome in that film.
Yeah, she's amazing in everything. Yeah, and oh, Death Becomes Her. Forgot about that.
Yeah,
Death
that
Becomes
was
Her. I thought he was quite funny in that one, like kind of
definitely playing against type. In
Oh
Death
shit!
Becomes Her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin, you got any that you didn't quite make the cut for you?
I was going to say Looper. Oh, Lucky Number 11. I remember really
I've never
enjoying
seen
that.
No,
Got some really interesting twists in that. Yeah, that was pretty fun with Ashton Kutcher, I think, as well.
Yes, yeah, nice. Baz, you got any honourable mentions?
So I was just checking out his filmography because I couldn't remember. You know, I obviously should have put Die Hard, but I explained why I didn't. But you know, I've already got one of them.
Fair.
And I was just looking at his filmography to see if I. And what was it? I completely forgot he was in this. But Over the Hedge. Did you ever watch that?
Oh yeah.
Kids film.
No.
CGI kid film.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome. I loved that film. That was great.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I completely forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
He was the is it Raccoon? RJ? Was it RJ there? No, he was a raccoon, right? Yeah, he's a raccoon. He's a raccoon. Yeah. Yeah, I love that film. That was good. I completely forgot he was in that.
Also, Die Hard 2. We haven't really talked Die Hard 2.
Yeah, Die Hard 2 was pretty cool.
Wasn't directed by John McTiernan. Yeah, I think it's probably the one Bruce Willis film I've seen the most, actually. It seems to always be on TV. Just really great gun battles, some really interesting twists, with the whole, blanks and real ammo. That was quite fun.
That was good.
The fact that all those soldiers in the white suits ended up being the bad guys as well. I thought that was a really cool twist in that movie.
It suffers for being so similar to the first one, but it is like on any other level, it's a really good film for sure. I love Die Hard too. But then I think the reason Die Hard 3 seems better is because it just strikes out on its own a little bit more. Yeah, also connects itself to the original.
I kind of like as well that they kind of give his wife a lot to do in the plane and stuff.
Yeah,
like she seems like a properly developed character in the second one.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a definite plus.
Holly Gennaro for sure. I've got a couple of honourable mentions mostly discussed already, but like Death Becomes Her, I think is a great film that's underrated and largely forgotten, but shouldn't be. Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis is really good.
Yeah.
The Last Boy Scout, I love that. Like that's such a grimy, like mean spirited and early 90s action film that set a record for the highest amount of money ever paid for a film script by Shane Black. The Last Boy Scout.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was broken quite quickly, but at the time it was the most money that had ever been paid for a script. And then apparently the final film is nothing like the original script, but never mind. It's a great film. Armageddon, I've got a little bit of soft spot for. The Whole 9 Yards, definitely. But I think that might be slightly more Matthew Perry than Bruce Willis. When it comes to...
But Bruce Willis is really like funny in it.
He is, but there's a scene...
Like he's so...
There's a scene in that movie where Matthew Perry walks into a lamp that might be the funniest thing that's ever been filmed.
But there's one point where Bruce Willis kills somebody, and then Matthew Perry's like all like kind of crazy. And then Bruce Willis like throws the beer at him, and he just doesn't catch it.
Yeah. I think what was it? He kills Michael Clark Duncan, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and it's like whoa, and he's freaking out. He's like, Why did you do that? Well, it was either him or you.
Yeah.
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 And Sin City and
that film.
Unbreakable, which we mentioned, and then one that I don't think anyone's mentioned yet is Red. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Red. That was a enjoyable old people action movie kind of thing.
I think I watched both of them. I watched Red 1 and 2, and I think they're kind of they're serviceable popcorn films.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I've not seen the second one.
they're
Actually,
not bad. They're pretty cool.
I liked Red. Red was good.
Yeah.
Right, brilliant. So that almost brings us to the end of an exciting action-packed
Yeah, I should have
episode.
included the whole 9 yards. Whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
Too late now.
The whole 10 yards as well. Don't forget about that. Whatever that was. Right. If Alex, if you had to pick one thing from your culture catch-up to recommend that people go and check out, what would it be?
Belle by Mamoru Osoda.
Lovely stuff. Martin, how about you? What should people watch?
Derry Girls.
Lovely choice.
Oh, yes.
Boaz?
From Lisa McGee.
Oh man, Moon Knight, I suppose. Or actually, most of the stuff that I saw, I liked. So Moon Knight, The Eternals, Buffy, Angel, and
Yeah, okay.
dude, fucking what? If nobody's watched
90s
Buffy,
TV.
watch Buffy. I don't give a shit. Like rewatch it, watch it again and again and again and again.
Agreed.
Well, G did an entire thing last year. Did you not watch all the series last year?
When we were in
G?
lockdown, I watched all of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. I love it.
Obsessed.
I'm obsessed with it. Yep. I think that people should.
Team Spike and Buffy.
Oh, I don't. Okay. That's where we depart. That's where we start. I think people should go out and watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent if they can. So
Yes. Hilarious.
Great. So that's been our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Film versus film. Where can people find find you online?
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been we've had
fun.
a great time. We're on all the socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now TikTok. We're trying Tickety Talk. I think that's how the kids say it now.
Yeah.
Are we doing any twerking?
Soon, lots of twerking. On Twitter, you can find us at FVF_podcast. All the rest is Film versus Film podcast. Yeah, and we're pretty much on all your podcast catching devices. At Film versus Film podcast.
Go and give it a listen. And next time on Culture Bucket, we'll be doing a special episode reviewing the 2021 Netflix show Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Which, have you seen that, guys?
It's on my watch list.
Oh, watch it. Watch it. It's
Midnight.
insane.
Oh my god, there are so many things coming out. What is
it's
that?
insane.
How did I? What is this about?
It's by Mike Flanagan. He did. What's the first one he did?
Haunting
The
of Hill House.
The Haunting of Hill House. My God, that is very scary and so good. Bly Manor, meh. But was it Doctor Sleep was interesting as well.
And Hush, did you watch Hush? That was a Netflix movie that he did about the woman,
Really?
blind woman in a house who gets a home intruder. That movie is really good, worth watching. Hush. I think it's called Hush. Like that great Buffy episode. To bring
wasn't she deaf? Not blind.
Is she? I think she might be deaf. Yes. No.
Let me check this out.
I'm blind.
No, she can't be.
I think you. I think you might be mixing.
Yeah.
Because I think there was Hush where she's deaf, and then there was some other film where this dude was blind.
Yeah. Well, there's Don't Breathe with the blind guy. Yeah. No, she is.
Don't
She
Breathe,
is
That's
deaf,
the one.
isn't
Don't
she?
Breathe.
Yeah. She's deaf.
Yeah.
Thank you. And played by Katie Siegel, who's actually married to Mike Flanagan. Oh, and Gerald's Game, which is another Mike Flanagan movie. He's great.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking all about him and Midnight Mass next week. Have you finished it now, Alex?
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk to you about it.
It was hard. It was hard going. As I did say, I felt it was predictable. The last 3 episodes, I did not predict any of that.
Surely,
I was like, oh my God.
you can't. Did you predict what happens at the end of episode 5? Not to spoil it for anyone.
Oh God, no! Oh God, no! I was like, what?
I am intrigued.
Oh, you've
Yeah.
I've not heard about this.
It's a slow, but like the beginning is like, oh, okay, you can imagine what's going to happen, and then towards the end, you're like, Oh, that's why they wanted the doors closed.
Yeah, it definitely goes places. Midnight Mass. It does start a bit slow, but it's worth it's worth watching.
Yeah, but I liked it from the beginning. But I just
I do love a slow burn.
Yeah. And then at the end it's like da 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 and then
but join us for more of that kind of chat next week, and you can find us as always on Instagram is where we're most active, but you can find links to all our social media channels along with everything we discussed in Culture Catch Up on the show notes for this and every episode, so please go and check those out and come and join us and let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being with us. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.